Hey guys, this is John, and I'm playing gloti4 in the 15-minute pool on ICC. This player is 2106. I believe I played them once in the past. They have a peak 15-minute rating of 2169, and we get e6 on move 2. This is often used by Dutch players who are looking to get into the Dutch via a French move order. It's very possible that e4 is just the best move here, but since I don't often play the white side of the French, I will play c4, and most of the time I'd expect f5, but gloti4 plays knight f6 instead. Okay, let's go knight c3, inviting a Nimzo-Indian. I'm always ready to play a Nimzo-Indian. Well, not 100% of the time. Sometimes I do avoid it, but I think this is such a rich opening that I don't mind getting into it from the white side, even though it has such a great reputation for black. All right, and it looks like my opponent is going to play the Zurich variation, which is the line that I am Christoph Selecki recommends in his book. In d6, so black prepares e5. I'll play one of the more challenging lines, which I also played in a USCL game this fall a couple months ago. Actually, it was probably about 3 months ago against International Master Orlov. And a very early e5 from black. Okay, so they're just breaking in the center immediately before I get a chance to play a3. So if I play d5, is black going to experience trouble with this bishop? Because it seems to me if d5 and the knight moves away, queen a4 check would just win the bishop. And if d5, knight d4, knight takes, pawn takes, I still have queen a4 check. They would be on my knight on c3 at the end of that line, but I pick up a pawn. So I think on d5, black would have to take on c3, and then I can play bishop takes c3 and go about my business. So let's just do this. And I bet that he will take because everything else looks bad. Let's pre-move that capture. Yeah, now knight e7, I predict. Don't think black will mess around with anything else. Okay, well, I was wrong. I've been wrong a couple times already this game, trying to predict what black will do. Knight e7 might have made sense, though, trying to prepare bishop f5. Maybe they didn't like e4. But nevertheless, this is kind of a standard idea as well, trying to put the knight on d7 later, or go a5 and knight a6. Let's just continue with e3. I'm refraining from playing e4 because I want to keep this diagonal open. Like now, if I want, I could play bishop d3. I think I'll probably play knight d2 first. I just like this move to rule out e4 at any point. Although bishop d3 was possible, because if e4 had been played, bishop takes f6 could be the answer. So black is bringing another piece to the back rank. I think the idea behind this move is to play f5. So should I play bishop d3 and invite black to do that? Bishop d3, f5. Let's say I castle short. And I'd like to open the position quickly thereafter. I think I like the look of that, so I'm going to do it. Yeah, and probably castle short all the same. And then look for an opportunity to play f4. So I'm nicely mobilized now. I'm almost totally developed, whereas black still has some question marks surrounding their development. However, I'm not sure it matters much because you notice the position is pretty closed. There haven't been any pawn exchanges, so the lines for my pieces are not open. So I'll be trying to do that over the next several moves. I'll attempt to pry open the position and maybe gain some scope, especially for these bishops. Two bishops sitting right alongside each other. Yeah, black does have certain issues to sort out. Like they can't play knight d7 because of bishop takes f5. That just drops a pawn. Maybe a5, continuing with the plan of trying to play knight a6 eventually. Knight a6 to c5. But the moment that knight hits a6, a5 might be loose, assuming my bishop is still on c3. So I don't know. I'm not sure I'm a big fan of how black has handled this opening so far. So queen e7, sensible move though. So now I can kind of decide whether I want to play in the center or on the queen side. I still like the idea of going f4, but If f4, e4, bishop e2, am I satisfied with that position? Probably knight d7 then. Maybe then I can turn my attention to the queen side, b4. My dark square bishop will be a force after that. I think I like that. I think I'll probably still play for f4. It also ensures that black can't play f4 in the future, so I may not have to worry about like a direct attack against my king. One other line I want to check is if f4, e takes f4 is played. I think I just respond with e takes f4, and black has a harmless check on e3. I would just put my king on h1, and my rook is ready to come to e1. Yeah, let's do that. This player has played over 2,000 15-minute games, so they're no stranger to the 15-minute pool. Okay, let's just drop this piece back. Black, I think, correctly closed down the position, but in doing so, I've got great scope for this dark square bishop now. c6, okay, so fighting back further on that wing. Maybe I can try to stick my knight on d4. So say I were to play b4 right now, gain more space, and then follow with knight b3 to d4. I like the look of that. This pawn, I think it will be pretty easy to defend, at least in the short term. Let's say b4, c takes d5, c takes d5, knight d7. Knight b3, knight b6, knight d4. I think that's okay. Yeah, because it's hard for black to even take that pawn sometimes because of bishop c4 pinning them. I could take on c6, but I don't like the idea of allowing black to take with the c pawn. And then they have a d pawn and I don't. I think I want to keep some central presence. So b4 seems appropriate. Let's do that. Let's pre-move this capture too. If the c pawns get cleared, I'm actually threatening potential discoveries. I was about to say I'm threatening bishop takes g7 because my queen would be attacking c8, but I do see that black could respond with knight takes g7 and their rook would be defending. Okay, so knight f6. This attacks the pawn, but black would always have to reckon with bishop c4 should they go take that pawn. Still, though, queen b3 is a move I'm considering right now, just defending. Queen b3, let's say knight d7, maybe a4 then. Idea knight b6, a5. Ooh, yeah, black looks very cramped there. And if knight takes d5, knight b takes d5, that is, I would have bishop takes f6, winning a piece. I'm liking that. Okay, let's do it. The g4 square is covered, so I don't have to worry about knight g4 attacking the e3 pawn. So that's nice. Maybe they could consider playing b6 and bishop b7. But if they play b6, that takes away a potential square from their knight. Knight bd7, and they wouldn't have this square to swing the knight to, so it appears passive. Unusual pawn structure we have now, though. h6, so what in the world would be the point of h6? I assume to go g5, but playing g5 anytime soon is almost certainly a bad idea for black. Maybe just rook c1 right now for me. I think that c-file will be valuable in the future. I don't want to play rook fc1. I think I'd like to keep this rook on the king side for the time being. And considering that I think black's last move didn't accomplish very much, I think I'm justified in playing a useful move like rook c1. A useful but not immediately threatening move, let's say. Wow, and he goes for g5. Yeah, I mean, I really didn't consider this too closely because this just looks bad to me. But now, let's see if I can find a refutation. One thing that jumps out at me immediately is, and we're going to clear some lines here, f takes g5, h takes g5, bishop takes f6. Reason being, black would be unable to take with a rook because the bishop on c8 hangs, so they'd have to take with a queen. And then I have knight takes e4 at the end of that line. And I'm attacking the queen, and I've won a pawn. So just right away, that is something I'm drawn to. And I could try to change the move order. Instead of taking on g5 first, I could take with the bishop on f6 first. They'll still take with the queen, but then on f takes g5, they have the option of taking queen takes g5. I guess even there, knight takes e4 is still pretty good, though. Yeah, because if f takes e4, I have rook takes f8. So even that is working out favorably. A choice of two good options. I'm pretty sure I'm going to go for the pawn. There might be some other stuff, but going for the pawn just looks excellent. All right, I'm going to start with this move. I'm actually going to give him the option of taking with the queen because I don't think that's a good idea. Or sorry, not option of taking with the queen, but option of taking with the queen after I take on g5. Right here, I think guaranteed black will take with the queen, but after queen takes f6, f takes g5, I want to see if they're tempted into playing queen takes, because then I can play knight takes e4. And if fe, I have rook takes f8. I think it's actually better for them to take with a pawn. He's pausing to think a little bit. Okay, so I kind of baited him into doing that, because now I get to spring this move anyways. Yeah, so this rook c1 move that I played a few moments ago on move 18 comes in handy because of the attack on c8. All right, and he retreats the queen. Now I was thinking just knight g3. Bring the knight back to safety and attack f5. Yeah, simple stuff. Black has an appreciable time advantage right now, but my extra pawn is worth it. Extra pawn, better development, open black king. I don't see him surviving this. This is pretty bad. Okay, so he brings the knight out. Maybe I can just target this pawn. First I was thinking bishop d3, but that would run into queen takes e3 check. I don't really want to take, because I feel like I can take that knight whenever I want. Rook f4 comes to mind. They're going to play bishop d7 next move, I think, though. King h1, maybe? All these moves are a little on the slow side. I don't know. Rook f4 is probably one of the most direct moves I have at my disposal. Maybe we'll do that. Yeah, let's play rook f4. Try to double up and attack that f5 pawn. Maybe they could play bishop d7, rook cf1, rook a e8, and counterattack e3. But at that point, I could play something like rook on f1 to f3 to defend the pawn if I like. Here there's also the possibility of e4, but I think I'll probably double first. Yeah, let's double up and attack f5. If they play rook a e8, I do have the option of taking on f5 and trying to take it to an endgame. So knight takes, bishop takes, rook takes, rook takes, queen takes e3. We trade queens on e3. They're attacking my bishop at the end. I could play bishop takes a6, b takes a6, rook to f6. And actually, I'm winning a lot of pawns out of that, now that I look at that position a little bit closer. Maybe that's the way to go. So knight takes f5, bishop takes f5, rook takes f5, rook takes f5, rook takes f5, queen takes e3, queen takes e3, rook takes e3, bishop takes a6, b takes a6, rook f6 at the end. So I think that's the move that makes this whole line work for me, at least as far as I can tell. I'm going to go for it. It also simplifies the game. So with me being under 5 minutes now, I think that's a good choice. There might be some way to gradually increase the pressure and just save the e3 pawn, but I'm going to go for this instead. Because I just see this being so forcing, and black having issues with all these weak pawns at the end. It looks good. I would have spent a little more time looking at it, though, had I not been under 5 minutes. And we'll see if we can win this rook ending. So black can go after my a2 pawn, no doubt about that. Like, they could play rook a3. Let's say I play rook takes d6, and then rook takes a2, rook takes h6. Maybe then they could start giving me some checks, something like rook a1, king f2, rook a2, king g3, rook a3 check, king h4, and then if, let's say, rook a4, maybe I just play pawn g4. I know that's a lot of moves, but I just see that working out favorably for me. Okay, so he's just going to move his king, but I don't know about this. Because now I can go check and win the a7 pawn. That's got to be worth something.
Check.
Because I might even have b5 thereafter. Yeah, probably just taking a7 is good now. So can I just play b5? The a-pawn is pinned. b5, rook a1 check, king f2, rook a2 check, king g3, rook a3 check. But then I can't go to the 4th rank because he plays rook a4 check and then finally takes. Well, that's annoying. But I can inch closer with my king if I want. So maybe that's the answer. I could also just play something like h4 right here, but b5, rook a1 check, king f2, check again. Let's say king e3. He takes g2. Yeah, that's got to be winning. Okay, I'm going to do it. I'm going to play this way. Oh, a5. Yeah, he can just play that move too, but I was assuming that wasn't going to be so good. We'll find out. Because now I think I'm going to keep my 2-pawn advantage. d7, or just take, or b7 first. Doesn't matter much. I know my time is getting low, but just want to make sure I make the best decision. b7, a4, d6. That's almost winning, but not quite. b7, a4. My rook's in a slightly better spot, though. Let's just play b7 to start. He's going to play a4. He's got to advance his pawn. a4, d6, king f6, d7, king e7. Both pawns are on the 7th rank, but I think he's stopping both of them as well. Yeah, black is stopping both of them. But a4, I can always just play rook takes a4. And then after, say, rook takes b7, just get behind the pawn like rook d4, followed by pushing the pawn. Or maybe I throw in check first, just to see where that black king goes. Check king f5 probably will be the answer. Okay, let's just take. We're going to keep this real simple. And then I'm going to put the rook behind the passed pawn. Because potentially I could even just give up the d-pawn and still be winning because of my 2 versus 1. They can check me a couple times, but my king's going to run out to g3 and then eventually up to h4 if necessary. And they're going to have to stop this pawn. And I think they're going to have to use their rook to do it. They could try to put their king like on d8, but then their king is tied down. So with rook d4, I'm attempting to tie down at least one of black's pieces, basically. All right, so let's do this as planned. Bring the king up. Let's play here. He's going to play for the pawn ending. Thought this was winning, but maybe not. Wow. Take, king f3, king e6, king there. Ah, he gets back in time. Oh, that's annoying. I just miscounted. Take, king g3, king d6, king h4. Yeah, he gets back just in time. And I think he gets to hold the draw. Well, that's irritating. All right. Got to come away with the rook. And my king is one square too far away, unfortunately. Come over here. This is actually a little bit dangerous trying to play for a win when I have such little time, but we'll see what happens.
Check.
Give a check. Maybe I can still give black some trouble here.
Check.
Try to force them back a bit. Okay, so now here. Oh, there's some stalemate ideas. That's funny. Yeah, I don't think I can win anymore. King h3, rook check, and then g3, rook takes g3. Okay, so I got to do this. And then try to get my king out of the way and push g4, but, I mean, this is no solution, really. Yeah, that rook ending should have been winning in multiple ways, and I chose one that didn't work. Yeah, I don't see a real good way of playing this. I'm just going to repeat, and if king h5, just play king h3. I know it leads to a stalemate, but we'll just do it anyways. Otherwise, I think I'm winning here.
Check.
Yeah. Oh, wow, he didn't see the stalemate.
Check.
Okay, check.
Check.
Yeah, rook takes g3 was a draw. Okay, let's come here. Still a draw. It's always hard when you have a rook pawn remaining, because so many times like they can just get into an endgame where they have, or you have just a rook pawn left, and there's nothing to be done. All right, here rook c1 would be really good.
Check.
Maybe they're making it a little tougher on themselves than it has to be. Now king back to g8. Yep. Okay, so let's bring our king out a little bit. Go up, attack that pawn.
Check.
I'm going to try to offer a rook trade, play rook e4. It's not going to do much, but create some annoyance. He's missed a couple better ways to draw this already. I'm slowly making progress now. Huh. Yeah, black's got to be careful. King f7 should be played. Still definitely a draw. Rook there, yep.
Time.
I'll come here. But yeah, there's really nothing to be done.
Check.
Draw.
I'll offer him a draw, see if he wants it.
check,
Well, maybe not.
Draw.
Is he really going to go for the flag?
check,
That would be kind of low if so, but I guess
check,
understandable.
Draw.
check,
All right, well, now I can basically force a draw.
check, 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 check,
Unfortunately, I can't win.
check, 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 check,
All right. Well, drawn game. Pretty poor technique on my part. So, yeah, I think when right around here, I must have miscounted the tempos because simply allowing black to go and take the d6 pawn was pretty bad. Like, I assumed I could just trade rooks and walk up with my king, but if rook takes d6, king takes d6, king g3, king e5, king g4, king f6, king h5, king g7, it's just a draw. And yeah, even though I'm up a pawn there, he can just shuffle his king back and forth and hold. So yeah, unfortunate ending, but time kind of got the better of me in this one. Too bad. Okay, let's go back and have a look at it. So we had a Nimzo-Indian via transposition and the Zurich variation. All signs were pointing to an advantage out of the opening in this one, and I think we achieved it. I think I discussed these moves pretty well. Knight e8, black is preparing f5. So here I decided to play f4 and attack that pawn on e5. Now already I feel like white's doing pretty well because white is much better coordinated than black. e4, bishop e2, c6, yeah, b4. I felt like this move was good to stake out territory on the queen side. The engine says d takes c6 is better. I didn't want to allow b takes when he might be able to push d5 at some point in the future, but yeah, even this is looking pretty nice for white. So b4, c takes d5, c takes d5, knight f6, queen b3, just defending the pawn. And I think this was a really poor idea for black, but somehow he managed to survive after that. Yeah, as you can see, that's pretty much giving away the game, this whole h6 and g5 plan. I mean, black is worse, no question about it, but there was no reason to go crazy on the king side like this. So rook c1 and then g5. Yeah, black should do something like, I was suggesting knight bd7, trying to come to b6. And I think I was considering a4 now, idea knight b6 and then push a5. Because if knight takes d5, I have this, and I win the knight. h6, rook c1, g5. Yeah, and here we end up winning a pawn. I think it's better for black to play h takes g5, actually, and just do this, and then I was thinking queen g6, maybe? Although white's still up a clean pawn, and I have pressure on f5 as well. So he took with the queen, then I played knight takes e4, queen e7, knight g3, just retreat the attacked knight. Now I embarked on a plan where I attack the f5 pawn. Yeah, this looks good. Engine approves. And here e4 is strong. I wonder if that's because after takes, I can take with the knight and then try to swing the queen over to g3 and attack black's king. The engine really likes this for white. Yeah, also I'm threatening knight f6 as well. I was already getting a little low on time here, so I just went for the more forcing line because I thought this rook ending would be straightforward. And it really should have been, but maybe not. Rook takes d6, rook a3.
check,
Check here. I take a7, he takes a2. I play b5. I actually missed that a5 was possible. I don't know how I missed that. Okay, so right here I'm just completely winning. d6, king f6, now b6. And what if he comes behind here? b7, here. Oh, just d7 now. Huh, wait, I'm going to figure this out. After king e7, because black can't take the pawn, b8 queen. After king e7, how do I win? I feel like I'm missing something really obvious. The engine is on plus 48 right now. On king e7, which is forced. I guess black could throw in a check or something, but his checks will run out. So king e7, what am I doing? Oh, just rook a8. Yeah, that threatens d8 queen, so black would have to take, and then I queen the other pawn. Duh. That was an oversight. Yeah, I saw this position in one of my calculations, and I just assumed that these pawns would be stuck, but in fact just rook a8, threatening to queen. Black's got to take here, and then just promote that pawn. Easy win. Yikes, well that was a big oversight. I played b6, b7. Yeah, and this is still winning for the same reason. Here I took, which makes it a lot harder. Yeah, so this was still possible, and then just rook a8. Ah, that's so disappointing. All right, that happens sometimes. Time pressure does you no favors. Yeah, and maybe now it's possible for him to hold. Okay, d6 didn't help at all, so I should just bring the king up right away and not worry about advancing the pawn. I was trying to, like, shut down his rook. But yeah, here the difference would be, let's say after king g3, king e5, now I go away. Now he's too far away, so he can't take the d5 pawn.
Check.
I can just play king up and go take this pawn. He's one tempo too short. So that was another mistake, I think, playing d6. That doesn't make a lot of sense. I should just activate my king right away. So I played d6, and what did he do? Yeah, king up. Oh, and here I can play king e3. Is that winning? Maybe there's some opposition themes at play. So I did this, take. Oh, I'm winning even here? No way. I just assumed that this ending was losing. Or that drawing, I mean. King f3, king e5, king g4, king here. And now if king h5, I thought king g7, but even this is still winning. Wait a second. How am I going to win this? h4, king h7. Oh, I think because at some point... Oh, I see why. Yeah. Actually, you know what? This is funny. There's a book called Amateur to IM by Jonathan Hawkins. And this ending is very similar to one that he looked at in that book. I think he calls it like Capablanca's ending, whereby you can put your opponent in Zugzwang. I was just assuming that the pawns would get traded, like one would get traded on g5. Like let's say in the event of like h4, king h7, g4, king g7, g5. Okay, clearly this is a draw. No matter which way I take, it's just a draw. But, whoops, didn't mean to go all the way back. But basically the point is I can play the king back here after h4. So I can just play the king back, and after king g6, yeah, now I am probably winning in a couple ways. Let's say h5 check. No, okay, h5 check, king here. Yeah, he can hold the draw with king e6. So king f4 would be necessary. That way, if here, g4 probably? Or king e4. g4 works. King e6, king e4, and then I go around him. Yeah, I outflank king d5. Yeah, and this is a win, because eventually black will lose the h6 pawn. For instance, like king here, king e5, king e7, king f5, king f7, and now h5. If he goes king e7, I get into g6 and I win this pawn. So king here and I go here. And he can only hold this h6 pawn for so long. Yeah, it's going to come down like this, and white wins. So that would have been winning, it looks like. That's kind of tricky, but that's an ending I've seen before. It just didn't click for me that it was actually possible here. Why is the engine now saying it's equal? Now it's saying h4 doesn't work. h4, king h7, king g4. This should be winning, right? King g6, king f4. So we looked at if king here, g4 would work. What if king h5? Attacking this pawn. Then I play g3 defending. King g6 is forced, and now king e5. Okay, and in this case, I'm going to play king h5, king f6, and come around like this. And black will still lose the h5 pawn, and my h pawn will be ready to queen. Like, if king takes here, I can play h5, king f4, take, king f5, king g7, and I'm going and winning. That's very instructive, guys. So, in fact, when black played rook takes d6, black is still losing in the pawn ending, but it's not for the reason, or I should say, it's not because black's king is in an inferior spot. It's because my king can kind of come back out and then eventually outflank and win this pawn. And after here and here, I don't have to play g4, which is what my brain just assumed I would have to play here. I can play king g4 instead. Yeah, and then circle the king around and eventually scoop this up. Yeah, this is an ending worth studying. And if you have that book by Jonathan Hawkins, pull that out and compare it to this, because I bet it's pretty similar. That's funny, because I was originally intending to take on d6. But when I got here, I didn't do it. I did this, and I think he played pretty suboptimally, to be honest. Like, there are various points where he could have just ended the game immediately, like this rook takes g3 move. But at no point was black in danger of losing. They always played it at least reasonably enough to hold. I was trying to trade rooks, but the problem was I could never force the trade. And he tried to flag me after this, which is whatever. I guess you're going to run into people who will try that. But eventually game drawn via perpetual. Okay, so two big oversights for me in converting this ending. One was just not seeing tactically that I could just push these pawns and I would win. And two, I didn't see that I could actually just trade rooks and win as well. Although that's a little more subtle, and time pressure played a big role in this one. Anyways, interesting game, instructive game. Hope you guys picked up a thing or two from this one. And thank you for watching, as always. And I'll be back again soon with another video. Talk to you guys later. Bye.